topsoil, where clover fields take root. Plants and ivy take root in stone and masonry work and begin to damage the foundations of buildings. Wild animals will have found shelter in the abandoned cities. Sparked by lightning storms, many wildfires will go unchecked without people to fight them. These fires can burn down entire towns and damage cities such as Chicago, San Francisco, and Rome. The charred rubble provides the nitrogen that plants need to grow, and plant life consumes the ruins. Satellites that were put into orbit would likely start to fall to the Earth like shooting stars. And after 3 years, the International Space Station would lose its altitude and fall to Earth. Without anyone taking care of things like roads and buildings, roads would be cracked or covered with thick vines or moss as the Earth started to take back what rightfully belonged to her in the beginning. New trees grow in home gardens. Vehicles and other metallic structures begin to succumb to corrosion that strips away paint and protective coatings, resulting in rust that eats through metal. Many of the 1 billion automobiles will soon degrade into hollow husks. After 30 years, the Earth will be a very different place without humans. Most houses and buildings would have begun to deteriorate and collapse. With the weather being unchanged, tornadoes, hurricanes, and other violent weather would strip places of homes and buildings, never to be rebuilt again. Grasslands and expanding forest would overrun cities and urban neighborhoods. Birds of prey like eagles or hawks would make their nests in skyscrapers long left vacant. Anything made of metal, such as cars or building structures, would be covered in rust from oxidation and disintegration. Packs of feral dogs would roam streets looking for their next meal, while some large animals would be thriving in the ruins of big cities. Sea life would possibly make a big recovery without overfishing, and the oceans might be once again filled with huge schools of fish. Whales would make a comeback and roam the oceans once again. Some buildings would collapse after years of moisture, with most northern cities having gutted skyscrapers filled with rainwater and snow. After years of rainwater pouring through floors and rotting ceilings, the cold would freeze it, and cracks would appear in the concrete pillars and walls. After many years, the buildings would eventually collapse. There would be an eerie silence that covered the face of the planet without humans. The planet is not a constant place. Without humans, the most excessive industrial carbon dioxide would dissipate within 200 years, which would cool the atmosphere. With no further chlorine and bromine leaking skyward, within decades the ozone layer would replenish, and ultraviolet damage would subside. During that same span, every dam on Earth would silt up and spill over. Rivers would again carry nutrients towards the oceans and seas where most life would have survived, as it was long before vertebrates crawled onto the shore. The cooling phase would probably bring on another ice age. Life would survive in other forms, the plants and the animals, and the planet would likely heal itself. Everything man-made would have rusted or decayed by now. Some skyscrapers would still likely be standing, although there would be nothing left but rusted and decayed skeletons. But there would be some small signs here and there that at one time, an intelligent species that once ruled the planet. And after 1,000 years, you might have to look very hard for signs that humans ever existed. A newly formed planet covered with wild animals, forests of green, ice sheets in the northern hemisphere. If there is anything important to be learned from this experiment, it is the impact we have on the world around us. The damage that we have caused to simply exist in a world that really doesn't belong to us. It is a grim tale to think about the Earth long after we are gone, but the Earth has survived far worse than anything humans have ever done, and it will survive long after we are gone.